You know those school pictures that you get sheets and sheets of, and you're supposed to cut them into little individual rectangles and write something witty and sentimental on the back and exchange them with your classmates? Well, I always had a hard time with that. I mean, not that I don't like sharing or that I don't want a picture of you, but why does having a picture of you mean that I have to give up a picture of me? I mean, it's a picture of me. Doesn't it make more sense that I have it than you do? You won't even know where I am in 20 years. And okay, maybe I won't know where or even who I am in 20 years, but at least I'll know where my pictures are. Look, here's one I got in high school. This cost me a picture of me. And who is this person? They wrote on the back, "Your friendship means so much to me. Let's stay friends forever. Okay, love you, Vineyard." Vierny. I have no idea where Vierny is or what she's doing. All I know is that I spell my name in the traditional way, Barry. Even though Vierny, even though we're supposed to remain friends forever, seems to think that my name is spelled like this. So for the last 4 years of high school, every time she says my name, she's thinking tiny fruit. And for that, I had to give up one of these? No. This is a bad arrangement. Now, I'm not discounting friendship. I just don't think it should come at the cost of self-knowledge. And self-knowledge is my goal in life. That's why I still have my baby book. You know, my baby book, that blank journal of your entire life that your mother's supposed to fill out for you. The hospital sent my mother home with this very one, like giving birth wasn't quite enough work, now she has a homework assignment. And she does pretty well at first, writing down all the essentials. The date and time, the hospital address, how long I was, how much I weighed, doctors and nurses' names, the insightful things my parents had to say about the birth of their very first child. All right, well, that's where she kind of runs out of steam. She's much better at the fill in the blanks than the essay questions. In fact, her entries are so straightforward, it really reads more like she's keeping a maintenance record for a new automobile rather than tracking the birth of a baby human. Purchase date, check. Mechanics' names, check. Front grille, check. Headlights, check. Horn, check. Emergency brake, check. Transmission, check. Oil change receipts, you want to hang onto these. This increases the trade-in value should you decide to trade up later on. First words? No. First birthday? No. Shots, diseases? Check. First picture? No. First trips? No. Now, okay, it's not totally devoid of personal information, of course. For instance, here we see that people say I look like Satch. One of the men in this picture is my Uncle Satch. But if you think about it for a second, it really doesn't matter which one, does it? Because all three of them are related to me. It's bad news either way. All right, there's Uncle Satch. No resemblance. This picture was taken when I was 13 years old at the VFW Club, the local bar in Mississippi where my family liked to hang out and drink. The reason I know this is because I was there. Blemishes, parts removed and broken? Check. First Christmas? No. Now, I was born in March, so the fact that this page is blank means that after about 9 months, I was already old news. But, I mean, that's kind of the way things happen, right? I mean, you know, the novelty of anything wears off, even your first child. And I'm not blaming my mother, and having a child's exhausting, right? I've heard, I don't have any myself. I mean, sure, the first few months are all exciting and new and bubbly and goo-goo, but it's not long before the whole height-weight honeymoon is over. I mean, look, having Haven't you ever started keeping a journal, really determined this time to really stick with it, only to find it about 6 months later under a stack of old magazines with exactly 3 entries in it? And the last 2 start with, well, it's been a while since I last wrote. And the thing is, the baby book knows this about us. It's even a little bit sarcastic about it. Look here, all the way in the back, page 51, the point in the book where the baby, me, is supposed to be grown and having kids of my own and writing down things about them. Here we see the page for my firstborn with all the lines and categories there for you to fill in. And then on the very next page, other children. There aren't even lines. Like it's just daring you to get around to dragging out the baby book and scribbling down your other kids' nicknames before they turn 25. Before the point where, like my dad does with me, you just start to refer to your offspring as son. And even if you do manage to stick with it, it's laid out in some unattainable fairy tale-like life. High school, college, grad school, kids, marriage, house, grandkids, vacations. Stay married for 50 years, and your final act right before dying at exactly age 80 is to weigh yourself and write it down. This book was published in Mississippi. Mississippi has the highest African-American population of any of the states, and they're handing these out to everyone as they leave. Look, you don't get much whiter than me, and I'm insulted by this picture. And what about this page for aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, cousins? Yeah, I don't see Uncle Satch in that car anywhere. Nobody's family looks like this. Nobody's life is like this. This baby book is fucked. But they say that everyone has at least one book in them, and for all I know, this might be it for me. So tonight I'm going to accept its challenge. I'm going to complete my baby book. And my doing so will explain why it is that I have it to begin with. Barry Smith, this is your life. Now then, let's go to the zoo. When I'm 6 years old, my mother takes me to the Memphis Zoo, and it's really cool. I see anacondas and peacocks and bears, and I see this group of people acting really weird, like really weird. They're walking in ways that don't make a lot of sense, moving their arms a lot more than it looks like they need to, and they're loud. One guy's having an argument with a garbage can. There's a girl who's eating the food they give you to throw into the hippo pit. And I point to these people and ask my mom what's going on, and she smacks my hand down and says, "Shh. They're retarded." And she whispers this, even though there's no way they can hear us because they're way over there, and one of them is yodeling. But she whispers this like it's a secret that they're, what did she say, retarded? They're retarded, but they don't know it, and we're not supposed to tell them. But I don't get this. I mean, how could they not know? I mean, I can look at them and see that they're different. Couldn't they just look in a mirror and see the same thing about themselves? But I guess if we have to keep it a secret, then for some reason, they can't. A week later, I'm a little bit late getting to my first grade class. So when I walk in, Miss Bryson looks up and says, "Smith, you're tardy." Now, I've never heard this word tardy before, but I just learned the word retarded, and tardy, retarded, that's the same word, right? But the people who are tardy don't know they're tardy, and you're not supposed to tell them. I mean, only somebody, it's supposed to be a secret, you know? Somebody really mean would do something like that. Somebody really mean, like Miss Bryson. Look, this is my first grade class. There's me. Now, traditionally, the teacher gets her picture included in this grid, but you notice there's no picture here of Miss Bryson? That's because she is such pure evil that her image doesn't register on film. She's a meanie pants. She's the kind of person who, if you're tardy, she'll stand up and announce it in front of the whole class, which is exactly what she does that day. She lets it be known that I am profoundly different, yet different in a way that I can never on my own perceive, yet that's blindingly obvious to everyone around me. But how can I be tardy? I mean, I'm educated. I'm a kindergarten graduate with a minor in vacation Bible school. I don't talk to garbage cans. I'm normal, right? I'm exactly the way I think I am, right? No, you are seriously, seriously different, and it's high time you knew it. You're tardy, Smith. Now sit down and start finger painting. Well, it's really nice of the baby book to remind you to write down your difficulties from elementary school, because that's what you want to remember about early life, right? Why not just have a pants wedding chart for you to fill out? Even though my difficulties didn't get written down, I have no problem remembering them. Miss Bryson certainly played her part. As a purely evil being, she embraces red ink. There's something just so beautifully random about scoring an 86 on your schoolwork at an age where you can barely count to 86. Miss Bryson gave me a B in writing on my report card. What a bitch. But even at this early age, I start to suspect that, maybe real life can teach you things you can't learn from a textbook or in a classroom. 86 on my fishing quiz. I'll show you a thing or two about fishing, Bryson. Mostly, though, I think she just took issue with my attempts to resurrect the lost art of the illustrated manuscript. But no matter the grade, each day I bring my school papers home and I put them in the trunk at the foot of my bed, because my trunk is the closest thing that I have to one of these. My grandmother's antique desk filled with old stuff. All these old pictures of my dad when he was a baby, and pictures of my grandparents when they were young, and my favorite, these old crinkly yellow bits of paper from the 30s and 40s, war bond receipts and telegrams and dry cleaning receipts and love letters. I just can't get enough of this stuff. And I figure if I bring my school papers home and put them in the trunk and save them long enough, then one day I'll have cool old stuff too. Only it'll be my cool old stuff. So one day I come home from school and I go to put my little mitt full of papers into my trunk, and I open it up and it's empty. I mean, I had it almost full, but now I run and find my mother and ask her where she put all my papers, and she says, "Oh yeah, we burned them." Burned them? Now, all right, before you go, imagining my parents involved in some sort of weird satanic ritual dancing around the conflagration of my school papers, I need to point out that my early childhood takes place in the Deep South. Now, the Deep South is this is the yearbook cover for my junior high yearbook, Greenville Christian School Crusader, Greenville, Mississippi. See the mountains and the trees and the cascading stream? It's beautiful, right? Well, the Mississippi Delta looks absolutely nothing like this. And given the choice of images of Greenville, Mississippi in 1980, I can see why they outsourced. This isn't a nice little Christian school. You can't have Ma Rainey's Barbecue and Dewdrop Inn as your yearbook cover. Now, the inside page is a little bit closer to the region, but even that's kind of a whitewashed version. I mean, not that the area I grew up in is without its charm. It's very charming. It's just a very specific sort of charming that can be a little bit authentic. And this authenticity is obvious in the way that we deal with our trash. Everyone in our neighborhood has a metal barrel in their backyard, and when your indoor garbage gets full, you take it out and put it in the barrel. And when the barrel gets full, you set it on fire. Here I am in the backyard pulling a wagon while my brother pushes. If you look right there, you can see the cluster of metal barrels, and you can see there's a little bit of smoke coming from ours. Now, if the burning of my school papers is the equivalent of the assassination of my innocence, then this is my own Zapruder film. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. The school paper depository, a puff of smoke from the trashy knoll. I remember exactly where I was when I heard the news. We burned them. I'm devastated. I've never even lost a stuffed animal before. Now I've lost my embryonic time capsule, an entire wing of the future Barry Smith Memorial Library wiped out. I'm shaken and disoriented and hungry because I just got home and it's time for my snack. And in that moment, I know exactly what I have to do. Never throw anything away again. I know that I need to begin the documentation of my life through photographs and artifacts and physical reminders of places and times, and to see to it that these items remain safely within my care forever. I will build a grand mosaic of berryness. Pictures of me, pictures by me, stuff made by me, stuff made for me, pictures of stuff made by me for someone else, a Mobius strip of self. And only then will I know intimately the complicated mechanism that is me. Losing my school papers has left me fragmented, so clearly saving everything from this point forward will make me whole again. According to the Hindus, there are three great mysteries: air to the bird, water to the fish, and man to himself. Well, I will solve this mystery of man to himself through the power of stuff. This is my manifesto. All right, well, obviously that's not my manifesto. I mean, I'm only 6, I'm not quite up to manifesto writing level yet. But I know that's what I decided, because here I am. And here I am. Actually, I guess here I'm not. Even though it never quite got pasted into the baby book, I'm pretty sure this is the first picture ever taken of me. 5 days old, looking pretty happy and satisfied, like maybe I've just finished a good meal. Though in a way, you could say that this is the first picture ever taken of me, a few weeks earlier at my mother's baby shower. Of course, using that logic, you could say that, my parents' wedding is where the pictures of me sort of began. But of course, once you open that door, then you have to go back to when my parents were dating, and my parents as kids, and then back to their parents, and their parents, and then back to their parents, and then back further still, because I was true to my manifesto. I've got loads of these old pictures going all the way back to the point where there are no more pictures, and then all the way forward again. And then all the way up to me. And then all the way up to the present moment. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get back to the baby book. Okay, hobbies and sports. Now, this is one of those pages that makes me wonder just how hastily this project was cobbled together. I mean, hobbies and sports. These ducks? Hobby or sport? Am I supposed to be riding them or playing checkers with them? I'm not sure. I'm also not sure whether this would count as a hobby or a sport, but apparently there's this trick that I do. Now, I don't know if my trick involved actually doing a somersault or if it just involved touching my head to the ground. But given some old home movie footage from around this time, I kind of have my doubts as to how impressive my trick really was. This is me learning to walk without sticking my tongue out. My mother's there to help me by smacking me in the mouth whenever my tongue pokes out. We do things a little different down south. I'm even having a hard time standing still, but there she is, helping me out. And I'm really good at it now. So clearly I'm no prodigy when it comes to this whole walking thing. So I think I might have to go with hobby instead of sport here. However, according to this picture, I am somewhat advanced when it comes to showing my snuff. Snuff, of course, is ground up tobacco that you pack into your upper lip, causing it to protrude. I'm pretty sure I'm just using my tongue to simulate snuff in this picture. But either way, when you think about it, I'm being primed for tobacco use at age 18 months. And pictures like this make me look back on other moments from my earlier pictures in a completely different light. I mean, I don't know for a fact that this isn't mine. That would explain that satisfied post-meal cigarette look on my face, right? And if that is my cigarette, it's certainly not my first. I mean, we'd have to go back to the baby shower. And again, opening that door would have to go all the way back to when my mother was a child, and her mother, and her mother's cigarette. There for all the kids to enjoy. This baby book family would never smoke cigarettes. Look, even their exhaust fumes are whimsical. Now, you would think with all this earlier exposure, of course, that I would go on to develop a smoking habit. I'm happy to say that's not the case. I did smoke for about 20 years, but I always thought of it as a hobby. Here I am with an ever-present ashtray. I'm pretty sure it's only empty in this picture because the cigarette is between the fingers of the person taking the picture. However, in this picture, the ashtray kind of takes a back seat to the gun. Now, I know I've pointed this out already, but it really does bear repeating that my early childhood takes place in the Deep South. Sorry, the Deep South. The Deep South is a culture that loves its guns. And you know, it is my culture, and I do have respect for it, but I don't know, I look at some of these early pictures, and I think, it's just so irresponsible, you know? I mean... Like, what kind of parents would allow a child this age to have a drum set? All right, back to the baby book. The fashions were. Now, here's a good example of the baby book being kind of a dick. I mean, this is such a setup, right? You know? Usually a nice buffer of time creates a healing balm, but not in the case of fashion. It's such a rare occasion when you look back on what you used to wear and think, I looked good. Yeah, glad I kept that one. Yeah. This picture of my Uncle Herschel isn't so much memorabilia as it is a warning. If this were a photograph hanging in a gallery, the title would be, Now, in a family as well photographed as mine, there are bound to be some fashion don't examples in the pile, right? My dad, my aunt, my mother, this couch, this wood paneling, my uncle, my brother, Santa, and me and my brother, and me and my brother again, and me, and me. Me. In this picture, I'm all dressed up because I'm accepting an award from the principal. I think it was an award for outstanding achievement in the field of having a belt buckle larger than your bicep. And speaking of awards, my grandfather wins the fashion award. In fact, Pawpaw, as we called him, deserves lots of awards. I know, he's not what the baby book has in mind by important personalities given the autograph book, but Pawpaw was really just so important to me. I mean, he was fun and fun-loving and funny, and at times just downright silly. So for that, he gets a pardon for all fashion crimes. Now here Pawpaw's all dressed up because it's the day he retires from his job at the Shelby, Mississippi Sunburst Bank. They make him a cake. We'll miss you, Mr. Brownie. Brownie is his nickname. Many people in my family go by their nickname. According to the baby book, his full name is Hebert Browning Smith, born August 31st, 1900, and we'll get around to filling that in later. So close. My father is a junior, so he also goes by Brownie. My mother, whose name is Wanda Faye, goes by her nickname, Mousie. Here we see on the back of one of her school photos, one of her friends wrote, "Dear Mousie, let's remain friends forever, blah, blah, blah." Now, I'm sure this cost my mother a picture of herself, but she was probably cool with that, like most normal people are. So, Brownie and Mousie, my parents, are cartoon characters. So, anyway, Pawpaw retires from the bank. He gets all spiffed up for the occasion. Now, this is by no means his first fashion assault. Oh no, it's taken years of training to get to this point. And it really is a shame that 35 years of employment have to be commemorated in this awkward moment, where the bank president's going for the old grip and grin, whereas Pawpaw is just going for the give me the goddamn check. But luckily, no one really noticed, because between Pawpaw's suit and the wallpaper, no one's eyes were actually able to focus. As a small town banker, most people know Pawpaw like this, but the Pawpaw that I knew was much more casual. In fact, he pretty much set the standard for casual. No, what Pawpaw did is Pawpaw threw down the gauntlet for casual. So what's happening here? What's happening is that Nanny, our grandmother, is about to give Pawpaw his nightly insulin shot. And all the grandkids are gathered around, just like we do each night. And if you look closely, you can see genuine glee on those faces. And that's because there's no internet. Pawpaw managed to make off with several dozen of the bank's souvenir giveaway t-shirts, these bright yellow shirts that say keep fiscally fit on them. So his post-retirement wardrobe is pretty much handled, and he lived a good another 20 years. Let's get back to the baby book. Well, the baby book and I are still in sync in the 3rd grade. I break my wrist falling off a trampoline, typical young boy stuff, right? By 4th grade, my wrist is healed enough that I can run really fast, blindfolded while carrying an egg and a spoon, so I totally kick ass on field day. But it's in the 5th grade where the baby book and I first start to part ways. In the 5th grade, I get glasses. We find an optometrist who specializes in frames that accentuate facial features yet still manage to crush self-esteem. Still, it's nice to be able to see. I mean, not that you would need glasses to see my parents' divorce coming, which also happens in the 5th grade. When I look back through this mountain of family photographs, I realize I only have 5 pictures of my parents together, not counting their wedding pictures, of course. And in these 5 pictures, you can see the complete arc of their relationship. So here we all are, early on, happy and smiling, my aunt's wedding. A little while later, on Nanny's couch, smiles a little more forced at this point. Later still, not really even technically together. I think they just moved their lawn chairs close to the cooler. Back on Nanny's couch again, eyes closed, not even really an attempt at a forced smile. And then finally, for the last time, on Nanny's couch. And the only reason they're on the same couch here is because Nanny only has one ashtray. I mean, there's something telling about a family that's so well photographed where there's only 5 pictures together, right? And it's not because there was a shortage of photographers around. I was an awesome photographer, even at an early age. Here's some of my early work. I mean, even my grandparents, after being married for so many years, they still sat close enough to have their picture taken together. Now, it's easy to try to, and tempting even, to blame my parents' divorce on my dad's demeanor. And yeah, okay, sure, he could be a little bit serious. But he wasn't without his playful moments, even if they kind of had to be forced on him a little bit. And you know, I don't know, macrame seemed to make him happy. But sometimes these things just don't work out. So my parents split up, and shortly thereafter, my dad gets a promotion, and his job transfers him to California. We see our dad twice a year after that when he comes back to Mississippi on business, and we engage in the American traditional awkwardly sitting on the couch post-divorce ritual. And each time, just as he's about to leave, like the car's running, gotta go get your plane, Nanny always insists on one last picture in the backyard, like, you and your boys, get back there with your daddy, and let me take your picture. I have no doubts that my father loved us as best he could, and sometimes love means not having to put your cigarette down. The early teens with little flowers. What the fuck? Evolution has designed the early teens to be a dense concentration of awkwardness. Little flowers? You know, I'm tempted to just rip this whole page out, but I'm afraid I might damage some of the more important adjoining pages, like the one with most advanced home appliances on it. And besides, once you start tearing pages out, where do you stop? You know, I went to community college for all of about 20 minutes, but the baby book devotes page after fucking page to my glorious college years. It's one thing to just haven't ever gotten around to writing anything down. It's another when you just don't have anything to put there, leaving you with all these lines telling you exactly what you missed out on. Oh, and according to the baby book, not only had you better complete 4 pages worth of college, you also need to do some postgraduate schooling, win a shitload of honors and awards, and look like these assholes while doing it. They should perforate these pages, right? So you could tear them out with no trace. But no, there'll be no deviation or perforation from the baby book's path. So okay, baby book. Outstanding events in my early teens. Okay, why not? About a month before I turned 14, I'm having a conversation with my mother in the laundry room. It's a Friday afternoon, and we're talking about my science fair project, which is due Monday morning, and I've done exactly this much work on it. 2 rough sketches, one for a telegraph machine, one for a still. And we're going to Nanny and Papa's house for the weekend, so I'm panicked. But my mother insists that, she calms me down. Don't worry, we'll figure something out when we all get back home on Sunday night. And that's it. No great significance of a conversation, except that it's the last conversation we ever have. She backs out of the driveway, and I wave goodbye, just a casual wave. And she waves back, just to see a Sunday wave. But then later that night at the VFW club, her and some other folks hop into a friend's new pickup truck for a test drive, and they turn left at a stop sign without stopping, and there's another car coming really fast, and the next thing I know, Nanny and Papa are waking me up telling me that my mother's dead. My brother and I moving with our grandparents. It's always been like a second home to us anyway, so we're comfortable there. And later, after the funeral, everyone reconvenes back at my old house. And in the midst of all the hugs and tears and I'm sorry's, I sneak away and into my mother's room and close the door behind me. And I sit on her bed, confused by my own numbness. Even after a week, I still can't cry. So I do the only thing I know how to do. I go to the drawer where she keeps all of her pictures, and I start digging through them, grabbing all the ones I find of her. And just then, Nanny walks in and says, "Oh, Barry, what are you doing? No, all this stuff's yours. All your mama's stuff. It's all yours. Nobody's going to take this from you. Now get on out here and get yourself something to eat. Miss Burton just bought greens and cornbread." So I close the drawer and go with her. But as I do, I secretly slip this handful of pictures into my back pocket. And a week later, my estranged stepfather pulls up in a U-Haul and loads up everything from our house, the TV, the beds, the silverware, the furniture, everything that's not our toys and clothes, even all the photos. And he drives away, leaving me with this abstract and blurry record of the last few years of my mother's life. I know it's weird, but part of me has this kind of secret fantasy that one of you in the crowd tonight is my stepfather, and that you've come to my show with this box of pictures. And if that's the case, and you're out there, and you're wondering like how to break this to me after all these awkward years, well, from a dramatic standpoint, right now would be awesome. Okay. Thanks a lot, Baby Book. Thanks for bringing everybody down. How's that for outstanding events in my early teens? Why not just come right out and say it? All right, look, let's face it. It's been a long time since my early teens, and believe it or not, with the proper amount of perspective, there are actually some upsides to having your mother die when you're 13. Hear me out now. For example, when I finally go back to school and I'm taking a test and I get the answer wrong or just leave it blank, it's the equivalent of writing "my mother just died" in it, and the teacher won't mark it wrong, even if it's an algebra test. Solve for x where y equals mother just died. And not only will they not mark it wrong, they'll write really nice things on the back of your test about how everything works out for a reason. And "mother just died" are the only circumstances under which you can be forgiven for writing really bad poetry. Sing-songy rhymes of angst and grief, like this one. Middle of nowhere, USA. It's where I'd like to go and stay. Oh, it's bad. It's Shatner bad. But I dare you to criticize it. And it's beautifully illustrated. So take that, Miss Bryson. When Papa retires from the bank, he gets a going-away cake, but I'm guessing by the designs that he didn't have a lot to say in what his cake looked like. Well, since my mother just died, I decided to design the ultimate going-away cake. Now, I have no way of proving this, of course, but I'm willing to bet that my going-away cake is the only going-away cake in the history of going-away cakes to feature both Mr. Bill and the Ayatollah Khomeini. My mother just died. And you get voted class favorite. Okay, sure, it's only a class of 24 people, but 15 of those are boys, so there's some competition. Otis Spurgeon, very popular. Brian Provost tested very high in the exit polling. Judd Cotton was an early front runner. But once all the votes are counted, no matter what the tally, you have to give it to the kid whose mother just died. And you know what? I'll take it. And I'll keep it. And I still have it. And my baby book and cassette tapes and photographs and Valentines and weird little money things and pictures and school boxes. And my grandmother buys a funeral book to keep track of everything. All the relatives who came and what they brought and who brought food and what kind of food they brought. Look, Miss Burton did bring greens and cornbread. Dot Thrash brought cake and butter beans. I didn't even know books like this existed. This is like a baby book of death. So, of course, there's a blank page. Oh, did it get boring writing things down? Now we'll never know who telegrammed. Clearly, I was not in charge of this project. No, I was too busy saving church bulletins and newspaper announcements and receipts from newspaper announcements. Oh, because for a chronicler, death is the ultimate keepsake cornucopia. Because if you have to not have a mother, at least you get to have all this cool stuff, which is, I guess, the next best thing, right? Right? I mean, if losing my C-Spot run papers made me feel like life is out of control, well, losing my mother puts me at a whole new level because now the moment is more precious than ever and it has to be preserved because you never know when the moment will change. I mean, one minute you're waving goodbye and the next you're wishing you'd taken just one last picture. Meanwhile, my father's been living in Southern California for the past 3 years and has totally gone native. My brother and I are going out to live with him. We're all in for a shock. My grandparents drive us out there that summer, 5 complete full days on the road. Now, the baby book wants photos and mementos of my travels. In this case, I'm more than happy to oblige. I take loads of pictures during this 5-day trip. Every one of them looks exactly like this. They didn't let me out of the car very much. Oh, and just in case I miss anything, I also shoot home movie footage and keep a written and audio journal because I know that this trip marks a new phase in my life and I captured in every possible medium except oil painting, and only because that takes too long to dry. And of course, I still have the cassette that I recorded during this trip. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, what an amazing artifact, you know? I mean, the insight into my hopes and feelings and thoughts and dreams at this pivotal moment in my young life. At least, I think that's what it would have been, except that someone got me a watch as a going-away present.
Got up at 6 o'clock this morning. Now it's about 5:06 and quit, Brian. Quit, sucker. 5 o'clock, and a while ago I made a mistake. I said it was 4 something and the time had changed and actually it was 3 something. Well, it's about 11:29. I just got through taking a nap. 5 till 2, 7:25 right now, and 9:35, and we just stopped at a Stuckey's. Oh, it's raining, but you can't even tell it. 5, 3, 40, 20, about 4:15 now. 8, 9, 5, 6:25, 10 plus 15 minutes, 3, 7 or so, and we made it. All right.
It is possible to have too much insight. The day I arrive in California, I take out an index card and I write down the date and I fold it in half and I write day I came on it. No sexual connotation, that's something I'd be keeping up with later in life. No, but already in the past tense, right? Already paving the way to reminisce. Because in order to savor a moment, you have to first define the moment. You have to fix that moment in the moment. And just in case you find yourself too busy saving to savor, that's all right, you can always come back to it later. That's why he went to all the trouble to save it to begin with. Well, guess I'm going to be starting high school in California now, even though the baby book thinks I'm still back in Mississippi. The reason I know this is because there is nothing on this page to indicate that I'm about to show up in a place like this, looking like this. And sounding like this.
Oh, it's raining, but you can't even tell it.
It doesn't matter how much you manage to blend in physically. When you open your mouth and this comes out,
oh, it's raining, but you can't even tell it.
you may as well look like this. But I do manage to iron out my accent as high school progresses. The thing is, a Mississippi accent is kind of like the herpes of accents. You never really get rid of it. You know, you just learn to cope and suffer through the occasional flare-up. Even right now, as I speak, I'm thinking in a Southern accent. Not cool. All right, back to the baby book. Now here's a kind of a almost chilling example of the baby book getting something really right. So the baby book obviously was published before I was born, 1966, long before the moon landing. So in a kind of a Nostradamus-like way, it kind of predicted what was going to happen. You know, of course, man did go on to land on the moon. And it was a white man, and he did have an electric razor or something. But the most important discovery and development in my time wasn't moon-based. It was this, the video camera. Autofocus technology would come later and would be a very close second. My father bought a video camera back when they were still very big and expensive, and for that, I owe him my eternal gratitude and my apologies. Because this is a documenter's dream toy, so before it's even out of the box, I snatch it away and snap it up to my eye and start to annoy the hell out of everyone. Now remember, in the early days, it's affixed to the TV, so everyone can see themselves being filmed.
This is our new camera. I'm looking at Barry. This is our new camera. We just got a new video camera. He's my electronic wizard. He gets everything I get. He gets. Okay, electronic. You know, he gets it, and you know it goes. Yeah, he goes to his room, whatever.
Check the chicken.
So, all right, you coming tomorrow?
And just like the baby book, it's kind of fun being documented early on. There's some real novelty to it.
Cute. Very cute, son. Very cute, son. Very cute, son.
You're not gonna eat a piece of cake either? Yes, you are. Thank you.
But it's not long before it starts to wear thin.
Yeah. What is this date on? Oh, crap.
Promotional fees are paid to NBC by the airline. We serve more of this land's top 100 business centers than any other airline. Fly the friendly skies.
Wait a minute. It's not hard.
Y'all, give your dad the camera. What are you doing with it?
The only person who doesn't seem to mind my incessant documenting is Papa.
Silverdome and Pontiac, the home of the Lions.
Oh, now here's my aunt doing the classic take a picture of me while I take a picture of you thing. Now, you would think if I was as into all this stuff as I claim to be that I would have that picture, right? But I mean, that was 25 years ago. That was a quarter of a century ago. And it's not even my film, it's my aunt's film. I mean, what kind of a person would still have something like this and know exactly where it is? Look, when you've got a body like that, there's just no point in covering it up. This is what I look like to my family for about 4 solid years. And not only did I document, I soon learned that with a little bit of off-camera direction and nudging, maybe I could sort of sculpt my family into the way I want it to be, into the way the baby book family is. You know, cute little babies and affectionate fathers and grandfathers singing campfire songs. And I tried. I tried maybe a little too hard.
And if I get further,
Say hi, Nanny. Your mouth's so big. Say hi, Nanny, or I'll kick your face in.
But as I always suspected, documenting yourself is really the only thing you can count on. Well, I wish, for my sake and the baby books, I could say that I finished strong in high school. Clubs and societies? No. Athletic interests and awards? No. But I did have some very specific future plans and ambitions. There's a mandatory guidance counselor session for each graduating senior. So I go to mine, and the counselor asks me what I plan to do after high school. And I say, well, here's what I'm thinking. I'll probably go to a community college for a while, take a lot of drugs, fuck around, take some art classes, maybe a philosophy class, drop out of college, go live in England for a year in penniless squalor, come back home, live in my van, drift around aimlessly, move to Colorado, work a series of menial jobs before joining some weird religious cult, leave the cult after a few years, go back to working menial jobs, all the while taking pictures whenever I can afford the film, and basically continuing to obsessively save scraps from my daily life, because that's really the only thing that I do well. She makes a little note on my transcript and says, oh, okay. Any plans for the senior prom? Oh, yeah. Oh, I've got plans. I think it's fair to count joining a cult as the highlight of my religious training. I hear about a man in Montana who claims to be the return of Jesus, so I do what anyone would do. I quit my job, hitchhike to Montana, meet this guy, and accept him as my personal Lord and Savior. A few years later, many years later, when I'm long since out of the cult, it'll sometimes casually come up in conversation, you know, like, oh yeah, back when I was in the cult, we used to, and people would say, what? I guess I just sort of assumed that everyone spent their 20s hitchhiking around spreading the word of the return of Jesus and the impending apocalypse, but apparently some people had jobs. I've yet to have a full-time job, much to the dismay of the baby book. And I've had more part-time jobs than will fit into its tiny allotted space. Rather than go through each of them right now, I'll see you back here at the Wheeler in about a year with my new show, Every Job I've Ever Had. I'm already making posters. No kidding. Although one of these jobs is worth mentioning. For a while, I was a videographer, getting actually paid to document something other than myself, which, not surprisingly, was pretty boring. One of my main gigs was videotaping these incredibly fucking tedious, dry medical conferences, these medical meetings where the guy would just stand there behind a microphone and talk and talk and talk, and there was always a PowerPoint presentation. There would be arrows pointing to which part of the screen you're supposed to look at. And Actually, it was a pretty good gig. Okay, yeah. Moving on to the baby book. Here is where the baby book offers an unwitting glimpse of things to come. The first play I ever go to, I also star in. It's the kindergarten production of The Four Seasons. I'm in the first season, autumn, a very important season. It sets the tone and pace for the rest of them, so there's some pressure. I'm in the 10 Little Indians number. 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians. Which I've heard is now taught as 10 Little Soldiers, right? Much more politically correct, of course. Obviously, PC language isn't a hot topic in Mississippi in the early 70s. If it had been, that day at the zoo, my mother would have told me that, no, those people are developmentally disabled. And then Miss Bryson could have called me tardy all she wanted. And I would have skated through life free and light and unburdened, and we'd all be doing something else right now. After my breakout role as Little Indian number 7, my very next role is in a community theater performance of The King and I, where I play a cloud. Oh yeah, and I'm 32.
Comes a mountain. Got it, Eliza?
Here it comes. Thank you. Once you've had a taste of that kind of glory, there's no turning back. Well, I suppose it's pretty depressing to realize I haven't really progressed much beyond this page in the baby book, devoted to my toddler years, playing and diverting myself. I just never stopped writing little poems or taking pictures or making little movies or drawing cartoons or reading comic books. And then just a few years ago, it all sort of comes together. I had this idea to tell the story of my cult experience using PowerPoint and pictures and video and poems and stuff. And I try to think back on where these ideas come from, right? And the best I can figure is that after Pawpaw retired, he picks up a paintbrush for the very first time and starts painting scenes of the Mississippi Delta, but the real Mississippi Delta, the shotgun shacks and the cotton fields, the things he's known his whole life. So, I don't know, I guess I figured maybe I would just take the things I've known my whole life, and my stuff, and make some sort of art out of it. And even though it's a totally different topic, I'm pretty sure my grandmother's macrame business has a lot to do with why I'm into bondage. So anyway, I load all my pictures into my computer, I write a script, I set up a screen, and I start talking. And it goes well. The people in my little hometown like it. It seems to go well. I take it to New York. I apply to the New York International Fringe Theater Festival, a juried festival. I get accepted. I go to New York. I get my picture on the cover of the New York Times, a nice write-up. I win the solo show award. Holy shit, this is good. People come up to me after my show and say, I can't believe you have all that stuff. So I write another show about the time I lived in squalor in England. It's got twice as many pictures of stuff. And it goes well. I toured across Canada. I win awards and sell out shows. People come up and say, who saves this stuff? And I'm thinking, doesn't everybody? I mean, I was just using my stuff to help guide my story along my funny little stories, like a live comic book, pictures and words. I didn't know there was anything weird about having all this stuff until I started reading headlines like this. You mean there's something weird about me and I didn't know it? You mean Miss Bryson was right? Look, I'm still mystified by the fact that most adults don't have their tonsils. I don't mean have their tonsils, I mean, have their tonsils. Suddenly, my obsession has become my job. This causes me to start obsessing on all the things that I haven't saved. I mean, all this crap that I never really thought much about is suddenly my artistic raw material. And, okay, sure, I still have my tonsils, but what about the cast from where I broke my wrist? How could I not have that anymore? That would be the perfect picture to put right here. The tonsils, the cast, the baby book's picture, both a complete circle. No, like an idiot, I threw it away. How could an 8-year-old be so short-sighted? Every bit of flotsam and jetsam that I've let slip through my fingers is one punchline that I'll never get to make. And okay, yeah, sure, I still have the clipping from my first haircut and the clipping from my most recent haircut, but what about all those haircuts in between? And where's my birth certificate? How can I not have that? That is so remedial. And what about my little inky baby footprints? Who doesn't have their little inky baby footprints? Homeless people have their little inky baby footprints. And look at this, spot on the left eye, gone, replaced by dark circles under both. Spot on the back, gone. They don't make half dollars anymore either. And speaking of spots, what about Spot, my only first stuffed animal, the only one that got logged into the baby book? This is the only picture I have of Spot, and it's not a very good one. And I remember Spot wasn't so much a stuffed animal as a pillowcase with a picture of a dog on it. And if I'd held on to Spot, if I'd held on to him, I could slowly reveal him right now and show you how hilariously low budget he was. Or I could take the pillow out and stuff the pillowcase full of all the hair clippings I've saved from over the years, and it would be fucking awesome. The non-existent possibilities are endless. Okay, mistakes were made. I let a few things slip away, but not again. Because now my stuff is more important than ever. Now I need to gather it around me, for real. I go to my dad's house in California. I turn his spare bedroom into a scanning factory, much to his dismay, scanning all the old family photos he has. I fly to my aunt's house in Alabama, my aunt, my mother's sister. I make her drag out all of her old family photos. She's got pictures of my mother I've never even seen before. Old clippings, newspaper clippings, my mother's yearbook. My mother was in the drama club. My mother was in a play. I never even knew this. So I grab all this stuff, and I bring it home and put it in the pile with the rest of my stuff. And I vow to scan it. All of it. Every little scrap and clipping and doodle and picture and photo and scribbling, all of it. I need to have it all in a nice, manageable format so that if I need some bit of my past, it's right there at my fingertips, you know. Organized, catalog, categorized, alphabetized, color-coded, keyword searchable, just like the last page of the baby book is actually an index page, which is the smartest fucking thing it's done so far. If the unexamined life is not worth living, then the undocumented life must be even worse. So I lock myself in my room for weeks. I don't eat. I don't really sleep. I don't bathe. I just scan. And I go a little bit insane. And this was not that long ago. Okay, so here's the plan. I need to have these all in a digital format so I can... So when I need a picture, I don't have to go, okay, where was that one picture I had with the thing and stuff? Maybe it's, I want to have everything that I have available at my fingertips. I've got piles of photos over here that I've scanned. These are duplicates down here. So when I have doubles, I figure why shove them back in the box? I will throw them in a pile. But they're all going to be digitized, so it's like I have extras and extras and extras. Like the originals aren't even the originals anymore. The digital version will be the originals. And I'm also going to scan all of my journals. So I've got just like all sorts of this crap on my years and years of this sort of stuff. Scan all that in. Every little note I've taken, every little scrap, every little newspaper clippy thing. Kind of gets to you. Kind of plays with your head a little bit, I have to say. Not only the factory-like intensity of that sort of Charlie Chaplin-esque having to go back and forth and do this. Okay, let's face it, it's not hard work, but it's focused work, and I'm not used to that. But you're also sifting through all these memories. I mean, you've got like, oh my God, Green River 2002, that was however many years ago, and you look at it and you go, oh, look, I was so young, and I had hair, it was so fun. And over here, there's all these pictures of, look, it's me on my little bicycle, jumping over some people like Evel Knievel. That was so fun. And oh my God, here's like some person who's like long since dead that may or may not have been related to me, but probably so, and that's probably really poignant, right? So I feel that. It's like, oh my God, you were once in somebody in the back. I don't know. So that's what probably the next month of my life is going to be like, right here, doing this. And as the days and nights wear on, I start having crazy ideas of new projects, like to contact everyone I've ever met and see if they have any pictures of me. And if you do, could you send them to me? And each new stack of pictures and pile of stuff is filled with memories, and it's intense and bottomless. No matter how much I scan, the unscanned pile doesn't seem to be getting any smaller, but I'm determined because this is what I need to do to preserve my stuff and to preserve me. And one night, I'm up late scanning and sifting and sorting, and I come across a picture that I've never seen before. Well, it's Pawpaw. Obviously, I've got loads of pictures of Pawpaw, you know. I've even got a picture of him with his pants down, for God's sakes. But as I hold this picture, I realize that even though he's barely in the frame, I feel like as if he's standing right in front of me. And I realize that by feeling so much with so little, I could feel the same thing if this is all there was to the picture. Or even this. If I never see another picture of Pawpaw, I could still feel this. My wallowing in the past has suddenly made me very present. It's a feeling that doesn't need a stack of pictures or a box full of crap to hold your emotions in. Even if you're tardy, you're still on time for the present. I need to take a little break. I can't. It sort of gets to me after a while. I sit down right where I am, right in the middle of my stuff, and I grab my old yearbook. I keep this thing handy. I can't get enough of this. I mean, God, that is so not Mississippi. And I sit there and I start to flip through it, and it's probably Iowa or something. And right up here in the corner of this page, that's Judd Cotton in the upper left there. I don't know if you remember him. We were actually best friends, me and Judd Cotton, in 8th grade. We were pretty inseparable. I wonder if I ever gave him a picture of me or if I was all weird about it. And as I sit there, surrounded by mountains of my stuff, I notice something catches my eye for the first time on this page, and even though I've looked at it 100 times, it's this poem. The path you traverse is laden with opposites, paradoxical situations, nurturing melancholy or fostering mirth. It's like my whole life is summed up in this cheesy yearbook poem, you know? I mean, life is gonna hand you stuff, probably lots of stuff, and you get to decide how much of it you keep and where you keep it and how you present it, and maybe even you have some say in whether it causes melancholy or mirth. And you know who would have loved this page? Pawpaw. Not because he's into philosophy or poetry. He wasn't. He wasn't at all. But he was always just so good at finding the silliness, even in the most deep situation. And he was the only one who could make me laugh after my mother died. And he was just so good at choosing mirth over melancholy. And I think that's why Pawpaw would have appreciated this page so much, because right here in the midst of all this profound philosophical musings, it's my ass. Thank you.